Turning now to the wildfire situation in the north, residents of Yellowknife now have an exact date for when they might be able to return home.
Pretty excited. We've been here for, I think this is our third week now. And going back to our home is pretty good news for us.
The evacuation order was issued for the city and nearby communities about 3 weeks ago, and it's expected to be lifted on Wednesday. Earlier, we spoke with Mike Westwick. He's a wildfire information officer for the Northwest Territories, and he gave us this update.
That fire yesterday held up through those heavy wind conditions that we saw. It was the first big test of the lines that we've been working on for a little while. And the team did a good job keeping it that way. We got crews working their way up across 40 kilometers of line there, dealing with hot spots, and that work over the last week or so has held under this wind event, and that's really good news. It's looking promising for as far as Yellowknife for sure in terms of that work holding to reduce wildfire risk and supporting a safe return, which is really good news. It's why we do this. We protect people, we protect property, and of course, 70% of the territory almost evacuated right now. Every single one of us who are responding to this is affected in some way. Loved ones, friends, family, all displaced, and we're just as eager to see them get home, and we're very happy that we've been making the progress we have to support that.
Another person who wants to see that progress is Rebecca Alty. She is, of course, the mayor of Yellowknife. Mayor Alty, thank you once again for joining us.
Not a problem. Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, good news. I think Wednesday people can start coming back home. So yeah, fingers crossed for sure for thousands of people. What do you know about that return on Wednesday? What do residents and the public at large need to know?
Yeah, so as Mike was just saying, the fire near Yellowknife, which we call the Bechico Yellowknife fire, is being held. The one challenging fire still is in the southern part of our territory, which can impact and is currently impacting the highway. So the highway is anticipated to be closed today, hopefully reopening tomorrow. And we'll be able to get critical service workers back again on Monday and Tuesday. Flights are still continuing to get critical workers here, and that's so that places like the hospital can start to get up and going. And that will be then Wednesday starting at noon, September 6th, that the general public will be invited back to Yellowknife. With a few caveats, the weather, we've got to make sure that the fire continues to be held, and then we've got to make sure that the highway in the southern part of the territory is open. The highway would only be open if it's safe, so it may have smoky conditions. Residents would remember during the evacuation, the section between Bechico and Yellowknife was smoky. Now it might be the southern part of the territory that would have smoky conditions. There'd be pilot cars if needed. The other thing I would say is it's for the general public, it will still be very, very basic services, particularly when it comes to the hospital. So anybody with health conditions that need dialysis, if you're farther along in your pregnancy, chemotherapy, there's a number of different health services that will be getting up and running after the September 6th date. So please check the government's website for more information, because it wouldn't be safe for you to come home on that September 6th date. You should remain down south where you can get the care that you need.
Really important information there, Mayor, because I was going to ask you, just because people can come back, does that mean all of the services are going to be up and running? And you've clearly answered maybe not. But what I did want to ask you about also is these individuals who've been out of their homes for 3 weeks, you've been hearing from them. It's a huge expense for them personally. They still have to pay all their bills, many of them not working. So the financial strain of all of this, what kind of support are you getting from the territorial government and from the federal government on this?
Yeah, definitely a huge strain financially. The other challenges that we're hearing is that there's not enough social support for folks, particularly in Calgary. We're hearing in Calgary, their social services were pretty strained to begin with, and to add more people who are unhoused in their community without those social supports, really calling on the territorial government, the government of Alberta, recognizing they also, for the government of the Northwest Territories, a lot of their employees are displaced during this evacuation. So if the government of Northwest Territories and Alberta don't have the resources, we're really calling on them to reach up to the federal government, who can mobilize resources in other provinces or at the federal level to help. We do still need those financial supports. I don't think it's enough yet for residents or businesses, and so really hoping to hear the federal government step up with supports.
Mayor, do you have any sense of the damage that's taken place in Yellowknife?
The good news is that we haven't had any damage, which has helped us accelerate to, phase 3, which we were able to begin last Monday. What we call phase 1 would be that the threat has been reduced. We can't say eliminated because the fire's not fully out and it's likely not going to be out until the snow flies. Phase 2 would be, are there critical infrastructure that has been damaged? And we can luckily say that there hasn't been. So now that's where we get into phase 3 of bringing people back, getting those services online. So in the southern part of our territory, for the communities of Hay River and Fort Smith, I know it's going to be a challenging weekend for them, and really hoping that all the hard work that they've put in for their defense is able to hold up against what they may be facing this weekend.
Very quickly, we have less than 30 seconds, Mayor, but I did want to ask you, because as you know, the RCMP has put out this statement that there could be a convoy of people planning on returning back to the Northwest Territories. Now, we have this date of September 6th, and maybe that's enough that people won't do it. But for those individuals, we're hearing as many as 50 vehicles that plan on re-entering into the territories, and particularly trying to head back to Yellowknife before they're permitted to. Any message to them?
Oh, we have heard that rumor. We haven't heard anybody, and we've got a lot of folks on the ground that are pretty tuned in. So we are thinking it's still a rumor. But if anybody was looking, the highway's closed, and it's closed for safety reasons. There is an active fire on that highway, and whether you can see the flames or not, the other really big challenge can be those smoky conditions. You can barely see in front of your nose, and so that can have a big impact. If you had an accident, we all know that there's no services, there's no cell phones, you're not able to walk to a community. So you could really be putting not only your own life, but everybody in your car's life at risk by trying to go through a barricade of a closed highway.
Mayor of Yellowknife, Rebecca Alty, thank you so much.
Not a problem.